Hello and welcome to day 3 of the Daily Coding Problem. DailyCodingProblem.com is where I'm getting these. It's a website, not sure who makes it, but every day I get an email with a new problem. It says what company it came from and what difficulty it thinks it's going to be. Today's question comes from Uber and it's labeled as hard. Let's take a look. Okay. So here we have our problem. This is the one I received today. Today is February 2nd, 2020. Let's go ahead and read it. So this comes from Uber. The question is, given an array of integers, return a new array such that each element at index I of the new array is the product of all the numbers in the original array except the one at I. And then we have an example. For example, if our input was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the expected output would be 120, 120, 60, 40, 30, 24. And if our input was 3, 2, 1, the expected output would be 2, 3, 6. Okay, let's walk through one of these real quick just to make sure we see what's going on. So we want the new array to be the product of all the numbers except the one at that index. So our first one, so for the example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we want the first element to be the product of everything except the first element. So this would be 2 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, 120. Okay, perfect. And then the second one is going to be the product of everything but the second number. So that should be, again, 1 times, skip the 2. So then we do 3 times 4 times 5. That's 60. Okay, great. And we'll do one more just to make sure. So again, the third element should be all the multiple of all the numbers except the third element. So it'll be 1 times 2 times, and we skip 3 times 4 times 5, and we get 40. Okay, sweet. And then at the bottom, we have a bonus, a follow-up that says, what if you can't use division? Okay, so let's ignore that for now. Let's just use division because that seems like an easy way to do this. And then once we get that working, we'll do a follow-up without using division. Okay, sweet. So let's close this out. Open up a fresh Vim. As usual, we'll start by creating a test. So last time I really struggled with my dog is playing. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so what we want to do here, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so last time I started working on this, I really struggled with what to call the class I'm using to test because we're just like testing some algorithms here. So I'm going to just go ahead and call this solution. So we have solution test.rb and going to use minitest for this. And we're going to use minitest pride. This gives us color in our test output. And then we need to require relative, the file that we actually want to test. So we're going to be testing solution. And now we can describe our test. There we go. Describe. What are we going to call this? The product. I'll call it products, right? Because we're getting the products of all the other numbers. Sweet, that makes sense. And let's go ahead and open our README again to copy that example out of here. So I'm just going to copy this whole paragraph, paste it in, so we have it for reference. It returns the product of all numbers of all other numbers. It returns the product of all other numbers. Okay, sweet. And we have 2 examples that we can use here. So I'm going to actually just take both of those. So let's collect those here. So our first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's what we expect our result to be. And then our second one is 3, 2, 1, and that's what we expect our result to be on that one. Let's copy these up, and we'll just test both of these. So let's do solution dot product of this. We need to make an assertion here. We assert equal and we'll put that in. Sweet. So if we pass in the product of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we expect to get this back. And then we'll do one more of those. And what do we have? 3, 2, 1. Solution dot product of this. Good. Okay, let me make sure I didn't make a mistake. So we assert equal this as the product of that. We assert equal this as the product of that. Sweet. Okay, so we got our tests done. Let's run them real quick just to make sure I didn't make a typo. Excellent. Our tests are running on the bottom there in case you didn't know. It's telling us we don't have our solution file yet, which makes sense. We haven't created it. Let's create it now. There we go. Let's start building it out. Run it one more time. Undefined method describe. Okay, so we have a typo. You probably saw that typo and you just didn't tell me. So describe. Let's try this again. Undefined method product. Excellent. This is actually, I'm going to change this hash to a dot. This is a class method here. Self.product. Product. And this takes in some numbers and it returns some products. Okay, so now we have our first real failure at the bottom. Expected 120, 60, 40, 30, 24, actual nil. So now we actually have to do this. So the question actually gave us a slight hint there and it said, try to do it without division. So that makes me want to do it first with division and then we'll follow up with doing it without division. So with division, this seems pretty straightforward, right? We can go through each number. We can basically just multiply everything together, all the numbers in the input together, and then we can walk through one at a time and divide it by the number at I. So if we multiply all these together, that's going to give us 120. And then at each index, we divide it by that number. So this would be 120 divided by 1. This would be 120 divided by 2. This would be 120 divided by 3, and then divided by 4, divided by 5, etc. So let's do that solution first, get it working, and then we'll try to do this without division. So let's do that now. So first off, I'm going to say product equals numbers dot inject multiplication. Numbers. I think I have that syntax right, but I don't use that enough. So we'll see in a moment, I'm sure. And then we can do numbers.map. And this is going to build our array. And each element is going to be the product divided by the number. Sweet. So that worked, right? If we run our test down at the bottom, everything passes. So part 1 is done. Now, if we look at part 2, it mentioned that we want to do this without division. So this was obviously the more easy approach. Let's see if we can do this without division. How are we going to do this without division? So another way of describing this problem would be So so the way we described this just now is we said each number at each index is the total product divided by that number, right? But then another way to say that would be the number at index 0 is every number multiplied by every other number except the number at 0, right? So I didn't say the word division there. I just said multiply. So then at 2, at the second index, this would be every number multiplied by every other number except the number at number 2. And the same at 3 and 4 and 5, etc. So if we write it in that way, then we don't use division. So that means we don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to type out what I'm thinking here. So let's just step through this real quick. So if we're going to do, if we're going to walk through that, let's walk through that second example, 3, 2, 1, because it's shorter. So what I'm thinking is we have a result. I'll just call this product. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through each element in the input and multiply everything in the product array times that number except for the index that we're currently at. So for the first one, we're going to multiply everything in our product array by 3 except for the first element. So that means we're going to multiply 1 by 3 and 2 by 3. And now we get to our next number, 2, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply everything in our product array times 2 except for the index that we're currently at. So that means we come here, we multiply 1 by 2. That gives us 2. We skip this one because this is the index we're at. We're at index 1, right? So we skip it. And then we multiply this one by 2. So that gives us 6. And then we get to our third element, which is a 1, and we do the same thing. We go to our product array and we multiply everything by 1 except for the last element. So 2 times 1 is 1, 3 times 1 is 3, and then we skip this one. And then our result is 236, which is 236. So that doesn't use division, right? So let's do that. How are we going to code that? Let's do product equals array. So I think you can create arrays with default values, right? But let me double check that. IRB. That does not work. Okay, well, I don't know how to do that. It's not important. And I don't want to Google something right now. So let's see. We've got our product array, which we want to initialize to 1. Okay, I'm going to Google Ruby array default values. And then there's our problem that we just got in our email. So Ruby arrays default values. Class array. Perfect. Okay, so what we pass in is going to actually be the size. And then I'll make this bigger so you can see what we're doing. So it looks like we can pass in a block that's going to be the default value, and then we can pass in a size as well. So if I go here, let's open IRB just to make sure this works. So we want to create an array of size 5 with a default value of 1. Excellent. So then I can say a times 2, or a of 2 times 3, and that gives us 3. Perfect. And I can do multiply equals, right? And then if I do an a, okay. All right, so that's what we're going to use. So let's create our product array, which is going to be a new array that's the size of our input, and it defaults to 1. So now we have an array that has the same numbers as our input, and everything in there is set to 1. That's what we're going to return. So I'll put it down here as well. Now we'll do each with index, because we need to know our current position, right? And for each of these numbers, we're going to iterate through our product array. Trying to think the best way. So if I do product.each, this is going to iterate through everything in the array, but it's going to read. I don't know if it's going to. I actually don't want to do. I just want to use the index. So let's do 0 up to product.size. And I'm actually not sure if it includes that or not. Dot each do j. So now we're iterating through our product array. And then we want to take the element at that location, multiply it by this current number, unless this is the same index as our numbers array, right? Then we just go ahead and skip it. Let's run this. I'm sure I have a syntax error somewhere. And I do, what do we got? Undefined method, multiplication for nil class. This might include the size, I'm guessing. Let's experiment with this and see. I probably have that range wrong. So if I go 0 to 5, what does that give me? That includes it. Let's try doing a extra dot. Okay, so we'll do 3 dots. That does not include the last number. So let's do 3 dots, and we might need to put a 2a on here, or do like, does up to work? I always forget if this is like a Rails thing or if this is in Ruby. Oops. Oh, actually, that works. Let's do that. So we're gonna use up to instead, so I don't have to call toArray on this. So we'll go 0 up to product size -1. Okay, and we ran it, and we got a fabulous run in the bottom, so that means it works. Sweet. So I think we're done. Cool. Forgot to start my stopwatch, but looking at my watch now, I can see that we're probably at, less than half an hour here. So we've met our 1 hour requirement. How would we improve this? Does this seem pretty good? I think this is fine. This seems good to me. So let's go ahead and commit this and push it up. Let's add everything in our current directory. Perfect. That looks good. So we're adding our problem, and here's our solution. Excellent. This looks good. Let's throw it in a commit. Add exercise for today, 2020 0202. And we'll push it up. Sweet. All right, well, that's it. Let's close this out. End today. That's all we need for today. If I can get this bad boy, the screen realigned here. Okay, that's it. So that was a lot of fun. I'm going to throw the URL up here now for the repository I just pushed to if you wanted to reference that code for anything or try the problem out yourself. Again, these come from dailycodingproblem.com, and I'll continue to do these and see you again next time. Bye.